Harry Potter Book Night. I'd like to first welcome Susanna Fullerton, who's the Queen of the Classics. And Susanna has been President of the Jane Austen Society of Australia for the past 18 years. Susanna is Sydney's best-known lecturer on classic novels, and she lectures regularly at the Art Gallery of New South Wales. And she is going to be telling us all about Harry Potter and J.K. Rowling tonight.
Hi.
I'd also like to welcome Sarah Burns, who's the president of the Australian Bronte Association, and who tonight is a wicked witch looking at me.
Hello.
I'd also like to welcome Louise Owens, author of blog readmeblogsite.net, with her daughter Madeline.
Hi.
And Leslie Wickman from YouTube channel Words of a Reader.
Hi, everyone.
And I have next to me, dressed as Professor Truoli, Jemima Barlow, who is Harry Potter devotee, and I'm told one of the most talented witches of her generation. So welcome, Jemima.
Hi.
And now to the book, Susanna.
Well, 20 years ago, a woman called Joanne Rowling sat down and wrote a story about a boy called Harry Potter. She struggled to get it published. She was very poor when she wrote it. Life was pretty difficult. She was a single mum, and it really was not easy to get her story down on paper. And then, of course, she sent it off. Now, it got rejected by lots of publishers, very, very big mistake on their part. And eventually, a man at Bloomsbury gave it to his young daughter to read. And she read the first chapter, and she asked for more. And so he decided to take a punt on it, and Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone got published. So that was 1997, so 20 years ago in 2 years' time. But Harry Potter, of course, has broken all records. It's been the best-selling book series of all time. The series of movies were the highest-grossing film series of all time. And J.K. Rowling did the most incredible thing of persuading children to read, to discover the joy of books. Children read and loved the books, and then adults got onto it as well. They read and loved the books, sometimes with an adult cover instead of the more juvenile cover. And Harry Potter just went on to wow the entire world. I first came across it because of my daughter, who had read the first couple of books and kept saying, "Mum, you've got to read Harry Potter." So I rather reluctantly one night sat down and thought, all right, I'll do it to keep her happy, and I was absolutely entranced from the first page. So, so many people around the world really love the Harry Potter novels. But this first one, let's have a look at that this evening in our hangout. And I'd like to ask our youngest participant here tonight, Jemima, how she first came across the book. Did you get to read it at school? Did you hear about it from friends? Or did you have an adult who read it to you?
Well, my mum read it to me because I think she really liked it. So she read it to me, and then I decided it was absolutely amazing, so I read it again. And then again, and then again.
Like so many people. And Jemima, what is it that you love about the Harry Potter books so much?
Well, they're really descriptive, and also they're just imaginative and really cool.
Great. They are. They're really cool, aren't they? And yet what's so interesting is that some of the publishers who turned the books down said that boarding school stories were out of fashion. Children were no longer interested in stories set in boarding schools. And, you know, you're proof that that's definitely not the case. I think the boarding school setting is a wonderful part of the novel and a part of its charm. Louise, as mother and daughter, did you share the Harry Potter journey together?
Not really. Madeline read the book independently. I had read it when it first came out, but she read it a few years later when she was ready to read, and she just loved it. I think you've read it how many times? How many times?
Over 10.
Over 10, and all the other ones at least 7 times. But we did, we went on the Glee Books Harry Potter book openings, and we caught steam trains at ridiculously early times, and we reached a destination which was unknown at the time to be presented with our published copy at 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning. So that was quite fun. That was really fun. Yeah.
Great. And what about you, Sarah? How did you discover the books?
I watched the film. I only read the book 2 years ago for your course at the art gallery. I hadn't read the book. But what have I missed? It's so wonderful. It's just, so I'm a late comer. The children in my family are a bit young, so we've got this to look forward to.
Yes, yes. And Leslie, how about you? When did you come to Harry Potter?
I would have been about 15, so about 13 years ago now. I had a friend that was obsessed with them, and it was before the films came out, and she kept telling me I had to read them, and I didn't like the look of them. I wasn't big on fantasy books, and the first one sat on my shelf for about 2 years before I got bored and picked it up, and I think the first 4 books were out at that point, and I read the first 4 in about 3 days during school holidays, and was just
Books from that moment. Let's have a look at the characters in the book. I mean, there's such a wonderful range of characters that J.K. Rowling has created. First of all, we have that horrible Dursley family, with the dreaded Uncle Vernon and Dudley, and these absolutely ghastly characters. And I think that gets the book off to such a wonderful contrast when Harry goes off to school and he meets Ron and he meets Hermione and he gets friends and he has nice teachers and not so nice teachers, and the horrible Draco Malfoy, who's so wonderfully named. So I think we've all got different favourites amongst the characters, but have any of you got a character that for you absolutely stands out as the number one? I mean, is it Harry or is it some of the others maybe?
Well, I really like Neville Longbottom because he's really forgetful and he also stands up for himself.
But he's such a hero, on almost every book. Neville does something really amazing, heroic and courageous.
I think we'd all like a friend like Neville, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
He's a very loyal, courageous friend. I do love the moment when he gets the howler from his grandmother. I think that's a wonderful moment.
I'm a bit partial to Mrs. Weasley.
Yes.
I think she's fabulous.
Practical mother.
Yeah.
And the twins, the Weasley twins, are very appealing. In the last book, it's terribly sad when bad things happen, but the twins, I think, are wonderful characters.
I'm a Black fan.
Now, any other favourites? Sarah?
Well, I like Professor McGonagall. That was on the hat today. And some of those teachers are just really good, and even Hagrid. He's big giant of a man, but wonderful, and I think they've all got something to contribute. And there's some awful ones, but there's some good ones. But I like Mrs. Weasley too, or the whole family. I think Harry being on his own to go to that chaotic home is just wonderful.
Yes, yes. Now, I think it was Leslie mentioned before that she's not keen on fantasy, and I'm not either. And I thought I wouldn't probably be interested in the Harry Potter books because of the fantasy element. Witches and wizards and flying broomsticks and the magic and all the rest of it. And I'm still not a keen fantasy reader at all, but I think the magic in Harry Potter is truly wonderful. The way in which she has it happening in not every situation, but in some situations, and the way that Harry has to learn his craft of magic, like a school student at any ordinary school taking different subjects. He's got to put up with the horrible teachers, like he doesn't like Professor Trelawney. So, and then he has nice teachers and learns different things from all of them. We wanted to have some of us reading our favourite bits, so I just wanted to read a little bit from very early in the novel when Harry is starting to learn that he's actually got magical powers. And this is the wonderful scene at the zoo. After lunch, they went to the reptile house. It was cool and dark in here, with lit windows all along the walls. Behind the glass, all sorts of lizards and snakes were crawling and slithering over bits of wood and stone. Dudley and Piers wanted to see huge poisonous cobras and thick man-crushing pythons. Dudley quickly found the largest snake in the place. It could have wrapped its body twice around Uncle Vernon's car and crushed it into a dustbin. But at the moment it didn't look in the mood. In fact, it was fast asleep. Dudley stood with his nose pressed against the glass, staring at the glistening brown coils. "Make it move!" he whined at his father. Uncle Vernon tapped on the glass, but the snake didn't budge. "Do it again," Dudley ordered. Uncle Vernon rapped the glass smartly with his knuckles, but the snake just snoozed on. "This is boring," Dudley moaned. He shuffled away. Harry moved in front of the tank and looked intently at the snake. He wouldn't have been surprised if it had died of boredom itself. No company except stupid people drumming their fingers on the glass, trying to disturb it all day long. It was worse than having a cupboard as a bedroom, where the only visitor was Aunt Petunia hammering on the door to wake you up. At least he got to visit the rest of the house. The snake suddenly opened its beady eyes. Slowly, very slowly, it raised its head until its eyes were on a level with Harry's. It winked. Fabulous bit from Harry Potter. So, any other favourite bits that people would like to share with everyone?
Yeah.
Nina, have you got a favourite piece?
So this is the bit when he discovered he discovered that there's a philosopher's stone and discovered it's guarded by the trap by a giant dog called Puppy. And so he's got past all those and then the final challenge, the four, and then when he gets past the challenge, he'll get right to the philosopher's stone and Voldemort. So this is a bit with the bottles and with the clues. Danger lies before you, where safety lies behind. Two of us will help you, together you will find. One among us 7 will let you move ahead, another will transport to drink it back instead. Two among our number are only making line. Two of us are pillars, both of keeping in line. Two of you want to live, to stay here forever live. To have you in your place, you give you these things. First, however, fly, and person has to hide. You will always find a metal, just around, and left. You will always find someone with a line just side. There are many different of those who stand on either end, but if you would move onwards, neither is your friend. Seldom, open swift forward, all different sides. Neither dwarf nor giant holds left and right side. First, the second left, and the second on the right. Things like you taste them, the different sides.
Great, thank you. And any other pieces that people would like to share?
I've got one.
Yeah?
So it was really hard trying to pick a favourite scene. I kept going back and forth, and was it this, was it that one? But I have to say, one of my favourite all-time moments was when Harry gets his first letter from Hogwarts. "I'm what?" gasped Harry. "A wizard, of course," said Hagrid, sitting back down on the sofa, which groaned and sank even lower. "And a thumpin' good un, I'd say, once you've been trained up a bit. With a mum and dad like yours, what else would you be? And I reckon it's about time you read your letter." Harry stretched out his hand at last to take a yellowish envelope addressed in emerald green to Mr. H. Potter. The floor, cut on the rock, received. He pulled out the letter and read, "Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Headmaster Albus Dumbledore. Order of Merlin. First Class Grand Sorcerer. Chief Warlock. Supreme Mugwump. International Confederate of Wizards. Dear Mr. Potter, we are pleased to inform you that you have a place at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Please find enclosed a list of all the necessary books and equipment. Term begins on the 1st of September. We await your owl and will later on the 31st of July. Yours sincerely, Minerva McGonagall, Deputy Headmistress." It's so sad his adventures.
Yeah. And then, of course, when he goes to buy all his school equipment, it's such a wonderful moment, isn't it? You know, instead of buying stationery, he's getting the special quill pens and his owl and his wand, you know, has to suit his personality. So we get all the sort of things that I think children can relate to about starting school, getting uniforms, getting their equipment. But it's lifted into the realm of magic, and that just makes it so fascinating. One of the things we need to talk about is the film version of the first Harry Potter book. J.K. Rowling said that the thing she most wanted to see when her book was turned into a movie was a Quidditch match. To actually see the characters getting on their broomsticks and going up into the air and chasing the snitch, or trying to catch the snitch. So I think the Quidditch match is a real highlight of the movie. But how did you all respond to the movie version of Harry Potter? Leslie, did you enjoy it?
I unfortunately don't actually enjoy the films. The first one is the only one that I actually went to the cinema to see, and I was so disappointed. I was really, I just, unpopular opinion, but just not
You felt
really
it didn't live up to the book?
No, I didn't like the casting. I didn't like their choice to start releasing the films before the book series was finished. I thought they should have waited so that they had the complete story before they tried to figure out what they should keep in and what they should take out. Yeah, I don't love them.
Okay. What about you, Sarah?
Oh, I loved it because I hadn't read the book. I didn't know what the story was. I went with my sister and a friend of hers, and they were disappointed because there were no surprises, but it was all surprises for me. And I loved the casting. Sorry, Leslie. I thought it was wonderful. Even the paintings on the wall that came to life with John Cleese and all the wonderful, the fat lady, all the people. I thought the casting was terrific and it was fun. And that discovery and the scene on the train, the letters going up, you know, Vernon's trying to get rid of the letters and they wouldn't go, and then that scene at the Pan and all these owls, like he was going to get that letter one way or another. I thought it was great fun.
And Louise and Madeline, what's your response to the films?
I love the films. I thought they were really good.
Yeah, I did enjoy them. I kept thinking, oh, how are they going to do this, and how are they going to do the Quidditch match, and how are they going to do the trolley going through to platform 3/4. But I did find I enjoyed the books a bit more because there was a bit of a barrier for me between the fantasy. I thought the movies were just too realistic. That scary snake, it was too real. Whereas yeah, in a book it had a little bit of distance, I think. Yeah.
And Letitia?
It's quite funny. I came to the whole Harry Potter world really late. I was a Lord of the Rings devotee, and I refused to read Harry Potter because it was just this like us and them versus world. And then one day someone said, "Oh, for God's sake, read Harry Potter." So I started reading them after all the films had come out, after all the books were done. So I had a really different experience, I think. And I already had seen, you know, when I was reading the book, I already had, I guess, the movie characters in my head because I'd seen Toy Story and things like that. So for me, I loved the films. I adored the casting. I always think, God, the British did the films, because I think we would have had such a different world if the US had caught hold of it. And I thought they were magical, and I loved them. How about you?
Jemima, you've loved them?
I really watched the first and second ones. I thought they were really scary, especially the part when Ginny, she like writes the things in the books, but that's really scary, but I love them.
There has been some controversy, of course, connected with the Harry Potter books. Number one, that the movies and maybe the books have been too scary for some younger readers. So what age should children be allowed to read Harry Potter? What age should they be allowed to see the films? Then, of course, there's been the Christian controversy, and Harry Potter is a very, all the books, but particularly the first one, is a very widely banned book in American school libraries because they feel that it's dealing with witchcraft and magic and that therefore that is somehow anti-Christian. I personally don't agree with that view at all. I think it's just such a wonderful book in that it's persuaded so many children, and boys in particular, to discover the joy of reading. But how do you respond to these criticisms, and what age is the best age for a child to be reading Harry Potter? Should there be an age limit on this book?
It's funny. I have friends who have kids, and I think reading the book is different to watching the films. So they allow them to sort of read the books at their pace, but not to see the films because they, as Louise was saying, I think the realism becomes very different from the word to film. And I don't know, have you read all of them, or
Yeah, I've read all
you've read all of them? Did you find them scary as kind of they kept going?
No, I didn't find them scary, but I did find the movie scary.
Yeah.
I don't know about the age scenario, but I think that the more you've read widely, the more you pick up, because there are so many references. There are so many references to wonderful classic books that maybe you have not read when you're 6 years old, maybe you have, I don't know. A lot of classic literature. So I think, maybe you enjoy it when you're, I don't know, 7, 8 would be a very early reader. But you gain a lot more once you've read more widely. So as adults, you think, oh, that's really clever, that's really fantastic, I love what she's doing there. But it also doesn't rely on you having read that. So maybe that's one of the reasons it's so successful. It takes years. You can enjoy it really young, but you can also enjoy it much older.
So books to enjoy on different levels, aren't they? I mean, I think, one of my favourite moments or bits in the books, and I don't think it's in the first one, the character called Filch, the horrible caretaker, has a cat named Mrs. Norris.
Yes.
Now, for those of us who love Jane Austen, we know exactly where that name is from and what character in Mansfield Park the cat is named after. But a child who's never read Mansfield Park can still enjoy Mrs. Norris as a cat without knowing anything of the literary reference that J.K. Rowling is making. But yes, she's got references to classical literature and scientific and historical figures, and I think all of that adds a lot of extra meaning to the novel.
Yeah.
And of course, the novel won many awards when it came out, so it has been highly acclaimed. But of course, as the series grew more and more in popularity, that's when religious people began to complain, and some people felt magic wasn't a proper subject, and inevitably something as successful as Harry Potter is going to have people who are detractors or who criticise. One of my favourite ways of experiencing this book is listening to it read by Stephen Fry, who does a fabulous job reading all of the Harry Potter novels. Have any of you listened to his readings?
No. I think I might have when I was sick, and I thought they were really good. Yeah. I think he's a really good reader.
He's a wonderful reader, so it's a great way to experience the novels if you want to reread them in a different format. Now, Letitia, I see you're wearing a Gryffindor scarf, and I think Louise has got one on as well. But have you both been under the sorting hat, and are you sure that you belong in Gryffindor?
I am absolutely a Gryffindor girl. I couldn't belong to any other house.
Well, this is what we had handy, but I think I really might be a Hufflepuff.
Okay.
Why? Why is that?
Gryffindor, I remember as being brave, whereas Hufflepuff are loyal. And maybe I'm more loyal than I am brave.
Interesting to think what houses we might be put into if we got the sorting hat on our heads. I was in London recently, and I went to King's Cross Station to see the memorial for Harry Potter, which of course is a trolley half into the wall at what would be platform 9 3/4. and enterprising photographers have set up business there, and you can put on a scarf of your choice and you can have your photo taken holding onto the trolley and looking as if you're about to go through the wall with it. Needless to say, Gryffindor scarves were the ones that were mainly in demand as I stood there and watched people having their photographs taken. So I think I'd choose Gryffindor.
How about you, Jemima? What house would you be in?
I think Ravenclaw.
Ooh.
Ravenclaw.
Why is that?
Madeline's Ravenclaw.
Another Ravenclaw. Okay.
You Ravenclaw.
Nobody's Slytherin.
Oh.
No.
Not surprising. Now, this is the first book in a series, and I think all of us have probably read all the books in the series. Do you have favourites? Do you have one that you particularly love amongst the 7 books of the series?
I must admit, Philosopher's Stone is actually my favourite, and I think it's because it was just that moment. I can remember, the first sentence. I can remember first discovering, the world of Hogwarts and all the characters, and so it's just stayed as this beautiful memory for me. And I've loved all the other books, but this one was the one that just brought the magic to life.
I really like the Goblet of Fire because it's got the prizes of tournaments, and I think it's really good how there's the egg and the maze and the dragons. And I also love how at the end of the top, then it's extra pointy and they go back and then moving it kills Cedric Diggory.
The Goblet of Fire is at number 5, is it? Is that the 5th book?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, 4? Madeline, thank you.
Madeline, have you got a favourite?
I like Goblet of Fire too. That was my favourite. Mainly because I like when they give it full explanation things at the end. That was really clever. I like how it tied in.
Mine would have to be Philosopher's Stone. Mine's the first one. I just love that childhood and how they set it up, and I think all those very, very clever references were just right up my alley.
I think for me it's the 3rd one, The Prisoner of Azkaban. But I also love in the 4th one all the stuff to do with the school dance.
Yeah.
When Harry and Ron have got to find girls and ask them to the dance. And they've got to get the dress robes, and they've got to corner the girls when they're not surrounded by friends, and they're going through such agonies of teenage embarrassment. And I think J.K. Rowling captures that absolutely brilliantly. So that, I think, is a real highlight for me, the stuff connected with the school dance.
Well, I don't think that there is anyone here who would say they would not like to read any one of these books again. Aren't they wonderful? And Bloomsbury just released these great new versions of the books. So if you haven't got a copy, then it's a great time to go out and buy one, because I love these new covers by Granny Doddle. They're fantastic. But I think we'll all agree that no matter which book is your favourite, Harry Potter is a hero of all of ours. And thank you, J.K. Rowling, for writing these wonderful books that have brought a bit of magic, a bit of childhood, and a bit of love of reading back to the world. So who can't love that? I really want to thank you all for being on our hangout tonight. Susanna, as always, for giving us more wisdom on Harry Potter and J.K. Rowling and all things books. Leslie, thank you so much for joining us. Sarah, Madeline, and Louise, and Jemima, thank you so much for being here tonight. So
well, aren't we lucky that 20 years ago a woman sat down to write a story about Harry Potter? And she's done a fantastic thing for the world.
And as you all know, tonight is Harry Potter reading night, so get out your favourite Harry Potter and put your feet up and have that moment with a cup of tea and remember why you loved Harry Potter. So good night, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
Bye.